My name is Shannon Hutchison and my pronouns are she, her, and I am doing a video series around labels. And the reason that I started this was because I am part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, and I struggled for a long time to come out. What really held me back from wanting to come out was that I was scared that I would be defined by that label. But after I came out, I started to have deeper conversations with people around labels and how they are impacting them and how it's impacted them, and really wanting us to move the world together. So I think a way we can do that is through stories and through understanding.
I'm a mother, a grandmother, teacher. I'd say I'm a community advocator. And I think I would like to say I'm a good friend and I'm kind.
Yeah, awesome. I also was a teacher too, so this would be fun. With the label of being a woman, how have you seen that change through the years?
Well, I remember as a child and picking people for teams.
Right.
And the boys were always picked first.
Right.
And then the girls. Of course, a boy was always the one that was doing the picking.
Right.
But I think they felt that the girls didn't have the strength or the ability or the skill to be able to compete.
Right.
But I was a farm kid and I rode horses and I ran a lot and I helped my dad fix machinery and I drove the truck as soon as my legs were long enough to reach the clutch and the brake. And now there's lots of leagues for girls to play in.
Right.
There's professional soccer and hockey for women, and they're
Right.
asking for wage parity. So that's a huge shift.
That is huge.
And right now the World Ringette tournament is going on here, and it's very difficult to get a ticket. So that's just something for women's sport.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then about business, Claire and I had our first child. My mother-in-law wanted to buy a house for us to rent. So she went to the bank and got a mortgage. And as soon as she left the bank, the manager phoned her husband to come in and co-sign. And it was to be a big secret. I don't think she ever did know. But it was very unethical. And it was believed that women didn't have the ability to manage money or be a financial planner. But now my daughter owns her own company and she's able to negotiate partnerships, apply for loans, and just do business. But she still runs into obstacles when she goes out on business calls. She has a senior employee who's a man that comes with her. And even though he tries to direct the conversation to Jody, they still want to talk to him.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Then it's so good to hear, because I think like being a woman today, like there are still obstacles for sure. There's obstacles that are still in place, like who directs the conversation or who's going to be listened to more than others. But it's refreshing to hear that, like from where you came from, right? With there not even being a sports team for women.
Yeah.
And the loan, like that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That, and I think with all labels, it's nice to know there's hope, that there can be change.
Yes.
But then to also recognize that right now, of course, women have a ways to go still, but we have we have made.
But she said she uses that to her advantage now, because she'll just sit and listen, and she gets lots of information from just observing what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
She's smart.
That's an advantage for her.
Totally.
And then there's the 51, which is a group that was formed by Calgary women.
Okay.
And it's a financial feminist platform for entrepreneurs and investors to come together and access capital.
Okay.
So women can get funding. There's lots of support for them now to go into business.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you didn't see.
No.
When you were younger.
No, people were mostly discouraged. If a woman wanted to get into business, they were, I think, quite discouraged about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with all progress, we see progress happen and then it cycles back, right? right?
Yeah.
And there's setbacks
Yeah.
and that come back. But it is like, it's hopeful for me to hear as well.
That there's some progress. You push and push, and then you get shoved back a bit,
Right.
and then push again
Yeah,
until you kind of break through.
totally.
Yeah.
Do you have other early experiences that stood out to you that's kind of obstacle for being a woman?
Well, a little irritation
Sure.
is I was at a friend's house, and she asked me to take her car and run some errands for her. So I said, okay. So I went out to the garage to get in the car, and her husband said, where are you going? And I said, I'm just going to run some errands. And he said, you can't drive that. That's a standard. And I said, oh, but I can. And I left.
Right.
But because you're a woman, you probably
Right.
can't handle too many things at once. So I
Right.
think I would be able to drive it.
Capable.
Yeah.
But I love that you just got in the car and drove off. And that's, I think, the hardest part with labels is the assumptions that are tied to them. It's not so much the label, it's the things, what is tied to this label, and how do we change those assumptions that are being made about them,
Yeah.
right? Do you have any advice? How do you think we do change those assumptions?
I think just go along your own trail.
Just get in the car,
Yeah.
right?
Just get in and go.
Yeah. Yeah,
And stand up for yourself.
right.
Yeah.
And when people see it, right? Because even in that situation, when her husband saw you leave,
Yeah.
well, you hope that something in his brain was like, oh,
Registered. I guess they can do that.
Right.
His wife drove the car. So I don't know. I guess because I was older. Too,
Right.
that he thought, well, you're a woman and you can't be driving them.
in your view, what has created progress?
Well, I think Gloria Steinem
Yes.
was a big influence on changing the perception of women's roles.
Right.
And she was in the media, so she had a great platform for speaking out, and she did.
Right.
And so I think that was really big. And also, we'll tell this little story. My friend, when her kids were young, her husband used to have to travel out of town sometimes.
Okay.
And he didn't trust her to be able to make good decisions while he was gone. So he would write down the odometer on her car before he left. And then he would tell her what it should be when he came back, because he gave her enough. He figured out what the mileage would be for her to go to church and to the grocery store.
Wow.
And then he didn't give her any money. He made sure that she had everything that she would need while he was gone. And I think the church had a big influence on women's roles, a
Okay.
lot of the different churches. But now that church attendance is falling off, I think women have more of an equal partnership in marriage. They have more of a say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that with friends, that it seems to be more of a
More
balance
now. Yeah.
when it's a man and a woman, and it seems like there's been awareness brought to it, I guess. And
I think so.
and it's not good for men either, like when they have to
No.
bear the like responsibility for all the finances, if like everybody's different and every family's different, but if that's not what he wants to be doing.
Right,
And also
because sometimes the woman is better qualified to look after the finances and do the household arrangements and
totally,
things like that.
but he's also pinned into this role,
Yeah,
right?
but
And
that's what he's supposed to do.
yeah, and for men, you stay quiet, like you do it and you don't talk about your feelings and your relationship.
You're obedient. That
Yeah.
was sort of the philosophy of the church at the time. That
Right.
was women's roles.
Right.
Oh, but I might add, my friend was quite innovative.
Oh
She
yeah,
figured
yeah.
out how to reset the odometer, and she sold me her milk token so she'd have some money.
But even the fact that she was in that scenario,
Yeah, but she never argued about it. It was just what their church teachings were.
Right.
So, but she could figure out a way to get around it too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost women figuring, or anybody in
Yeah.
this situation.
Sure. I think when you're suppressed, you figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
How you can survive.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you hope at some point society wants to open so you don't
Mhm.
have to be so clever about it. It reminds me, my dad's dad, my grandpa, I always really loved him. He was so kind and gentle, and so stories I heard were much different.
Yeah.
He says like how much he changed as he got older, but my granny really wanted to work, and so he said she could work, and even those words to me,
You can work.
yeah, I'm like, what? What? So she got a job, and then my dad and his brother had to cook for themselves once a week or something. I don't quite know, but the kitchen, they smoked it out, so the ceiling was all black. And she got home, and my dad said just the panic in her to get it all cleaned up before his dad got home,
Oh,
because she knew that if he got home, then she might not be able to work anymore.
oh,
And thinking about stuff like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I knew my grandpa. He seemed like so kind, but he was in such a different time.
yeah, just the way they were raised and what they were taught to think and how they
Right.
were to act. And same with women, what their roles were
Right,
and how you had to stay in your lane.
right.
Yeah.
And how society just has such a strong hold sometimes on saying, like, you have this label, so your life looks like this. You have this label, so your life looks like this.
Yes.
Getting older, it really fascinates me, because a lot of labels we have for a lot of our lives, but with getting older, I feel like it's one that kind of slowly comes on you, like that.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like you were born with the label, or it's not like, for me, like coming out, or
Yeah.
it's something that you see
Gradually
coming.
creeps up on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm 42 right now, just actually a couple weeks ago. But thank you. I do notice there's a bit of a pull between my friends. So some of my friends are fighting the process, and there's nothing wrong with either of them. I'm just finding it really fascinating. And then there's the other part that I'm trying to be in, of embracing it and being excited about it, and not listening so much to the ads about wrinkles on my face, and trying to say, like, this is like, how lucky am I to be getting older?
Yeah.
But I also know in society that we're not set up culturally in the way that some cultures are, for really revering people getting older. And
Yeah. Honoring the older people.
totally.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard my mom make comments too about just little comments that are made to her. She was at the airport, and I can't remember what the comment was, but just like getting helped more when she
I
doesn't
know.
want to, or
Yes.
yeah.
And one thing that drives me wild, there's a lady in the grocery store in Innisfil. We have a holiday property up by there, and she calls me dear or love, and I just like to kick her in the knee. I found it so irritating
Right.
and degrading, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't expect you to say you wanted to kick her in the knee. I really like that. Yeah, it's because that's not like, you weren't getting called dear
Yeah.
before, right?
I was telling my daughter, and she said, well, Mom, maybe she calls everybody that. I said, maybe she does, but she shouldn't be calling me that.
Right.
I don't like it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, these conversations, I'm so excited to be having this with you, because I think a lot of people don't think about that. They think they're doing something that's nice, or
Yes.
and I get
And
like,
it's not. So
no, so stop it. Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even people hearing that can bring awareness to, like, okay,
Yeah.
can you talk more to that? Like, what comes up when somebody calls you dear, other than your leg?
Yeah. Well, that first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I just ignore it, because I don't put restrictions on myself.
Hmm.
I know an older friend, when I was maybe around 72, said to me, you know, it isn't age appropriate for you to be riding your bike and kayaking and hiking like that anymore. Really? Like, don't ever stop doing the things you love. Age is just a number.
Yeah.
And it's how you feel and if you're mobile, if you're bright, like continue with your life. I don't think about age.
Yeah. And who is somebody to tell you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
What you can and cannot do.
When I'm old, I'm going to be a lot older than I am now.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that saying. That's so, yeah, so good. It reminds me of a couple things. My mom was saying another one that she was talking to her friends about that just irks her is when she goes to the doctor and they say, well, for someone your age.
I know. Yes. That can be expected for someone your age.
Yeah.
That's a very annoying line.
Right.
Yeah.
And just what would be your advice to people around using terminology and like,
Treat everybody like they're just a person.
yeah.
That's a label that they're putting on
Yeah.
people. Oh, you're old. So,
So be fragile, like
Yeah.
be gentle with the
With the
person, call
person.
them dear, like,
yeah.
right.
And don't just treat them like they're 40 or 20 or 60 or just treat them on a level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's come up a lot in all of our interviews is everyone's like, I'm a human, treat me
Yeah.
like a human.
Yeah.
Don't change your language because of who I am.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Like it used to be
Who you
once
see.
you turn 65, then people consider, well, you're done. Like you have nothing more to offer.
Right.
But just like 2 weeks ago, they had in Calgary the top 77 over 70 awards,
Okay.
and honored 7 amazing people for contributions that they've made as in their 70s. You don't have to stop doing the things you love just because you're getting older, or
Right.
stop all the things you've always done in your life. Like keep doing them if you're able.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think for people who are younger, I think the media has such a huge impact.
Yes, I do too.
But when you don't see articles like top 70 or 7 over 70,
Yeah.
it should be top 70 over 70 because it's top 30 under 30, right?
Yeah.
It should be. But then people get a preconceived notion of what it is to be old,
That's right.
which is
Yeah.
skewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that kind of has frustrated
I
you?
know people are always amazed that I go to the gym 3 times a week to work out.
Right.
And there's a young woman in the gym, and she came up to my friend Allie and my husband. The 3 of us go, and she said, "You guys are my role model." And I think it made her realize that just because you're old doesn't mean you have to stop doing things.
Right.
And I think once you break an expectation of what people are expecting, then they can see a different way forward too.
Yeah, I like that. And that, it reminds me of a lot of our interviews, but one of the interviews is with a friend, Krisha, and she's part of a youth organization for Black kids in Calgary.
Yeah.
And a big reason that they do it, and it just reminds me of labels, is to show kids like you can be a teacher when you grow up, like you can be a doctor, you can be, and showing that representation, how important it is.
Yeah.
Because yeah, once you see it, you're right, it just opens all possibilities.
Yeah.
Of what your like square head has shown. Are you able to you've talked a little bit to it, but I guess about your journey, like for getting older, like when did you start noticing people treating you differently, calling you dear?
Probably cut just a couple of years.
Yeah.
I thought, I must have aged overnight because how come all of a sudden now I'm a deer?
Right. When did I become a
Yeah,
deer?
when did I become a deer?
Right.
Yeah. And I think media needs to have more stories about people that are older, not because they're older, but just because of something they've done.
Yeah.
And don't say, oh, this is amazing, this person's 74 years old and they did this. But if it was an accomplishment, just interview them for whatever the accomplishment was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not such a big focus on how amazing it is that they're so old and that they can still do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not amazing because of, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just because of what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That people are just seeing that label to start and then adding it to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just a message to people to be kind. Yeah, to people. And I think it's important to laugh every day and to listen and to not stop learning. As long as you're able, keep going.
I guess as a daughter, how can kids help their parents too? Like, is there anything that we can do with conversations or with?
I think just be a friend.
Yeah.
And not try to make decisions for them.
Right.
Yeah. So I had an experience where we needed some roof repairs done on our house. And I was telling a younger person, and immediately they decided I was being scammed, and they started panicking and asking me all these questions. It was like they thought I'd lost my ability to critical think because I'm old.
Right. Yeah.
And so I reassured them that we needed the roof repairs done. The guy was not a scammer. He was a very competent, hard worker. And I explained this very calmly through gritted teeth. But like you said, I think he wasn't doing it to be unkind. He just thought he was being helpful, pointing out that I was being scammed, and I probably wasn't bright enough to figure it out myself, so he would help. But
right.
It was annoying.
Yeah. And knowing that, yeah, just because somebody is a certain age, they're, in my belief, actually a lot more competent because you have lived so many more years.
Yeah.
And have so much more knowledge under you, like.
That's right, from life experiences, and hopefully you gain some wisdom along the way.
Yeah.
To be able to help other people and support them.
Yeah. But I think that point is so smart, like to say, and I think good for viewers watching is to remember that and not jump to, oh, they're not able to hire a roofer, or they're not able to do this.
Because they're this age now and they probably can't do that. Everybody ages at a different rate, so you can't really say what it is to be old because everybody's so different.
Right.
Like some people are not mobile and they're housebound. It makes a difference probably on their outlook on life.
Right.
Than somebody that's healthy and able to do lots of things. So everybody ages at a different rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So allow them that. As an older person, don't be embarrassed to ask for help. Listen and really listen to what people are saying.
What did you find there's the best things to embracing getting older?
Every morning I'm excited to get up.
Yeah.
I think this will be a good day.
Yeah.
My husband will say, but it's snowing. I say, oh, I love snow.
That's awesome.
Or it's raining. I love rain. It smells so good.
Yeah. Just that mindset.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Just be positive. I just think that things are changing for the best.
Yeah.
And don't give up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Keep it going.
Okay. Thank you so much. This has
You're
been
so welcome.
awesome.
Okay.
And so great to meet you too. The big reason that we're wanting to do this is I think a lot of times people want to help. I like to think that people have good hearts. They want to help and they want to understand people, but they don't know how to take that step, don't know how to be an ally. They don't know what questions to ask, what questions not to ask. And I'm hoping like through this series that people are able to watch it and maybe take that next step.